This is the first of a series of 3 talks on Joash, king of Judah. He's famous for being crowned king at the age of 7 when his grandmother Athaliah was overthrown. His story may be found in 2 Kings chapters 11 and 12 and also in 2 Chronicles chapters 22 to 24. But to understand the story of Joash, we need to look at his family tree. And I'll leave this up here because it can become rather complicated. We start with Ahab and Jezebel, famous for the confrontation between Elijah and the prophets of Baal on top of Mount Carmel. These two rule over the northern kingdom of Israel. The southern kingdom of Judah is ruled by Jehoshaphat, a godly king who encourages his nation in the worship of the Lord. But Jehoshaphat makes an alliance of marriage between his son Jehoram and Jezebel's daughter Athaliah. Now politically it makes sense. They're less likely to wage war on one another. Religiously it is a disaster. Athaliah has been brought up by Jezebel to worship Baal, so she promotes this practice within Judah. Well, eventually Jehoshaphat dies, Jehoram takes the throne, and one of his first acts is to order the execution of all his brothers. Now we don't know if Athaliah was behind this, but it certainly was not normal practice in the southern kingdom. And we know that Jehoram follows the practices of Ahab's house. He does evil in the eyes of the Lord. Indeed, he's famous, or we might say infamous, for receiving a letter from Elijah. Elijah condemns his reign and prophesies for him a lingering death. Well, following 8 years on the throne, Jehoram dies, and his son Ahaziah becomes king. Athaliah gets her claws into him, and he too promotes the practices of the house of Ahab. Well, within a year, Ahaziah has gone up north to visit his uncle Jehoram, the son of Ahab, the new king of Israel, and there they are attacked by Jehu. And Jehu is staging a coup d'etat. Ahaziah and Joram are both killed, as is Jezebel. The prophets of Baal are slaughtered up north, and Jehu announces that the northern kingdom of Israel will return to their traditional practices of worship. Unfortunately, this also includes the calf idol of Bethel. Well, down in Jerusalem, Athaliah snaps. Her brother is dead, her mother is dead, her son is dead. So she seizes control of the nation, and she orders that all of Ahaziah's remaining children be slaughtered, so that there is no one left to challenge her reign. And only Joash escapes. He's a babe in arms, and he is rescued by his aunt Jehosheba, who is married to the high priest Jehoiada. Joash is hidden within the temple, a place that Athaliah never visits anyway, and raised in complete secrecy. So, if you thought that English history and the Wars of the Roses was confusing, well, there's plenty of intrigue, bloodshed and conspiracy in the Bible. For 6 long years, Athaliah rules over Judah. The kingdom to the north is hostile because Jehu remains in power, and Athaliah actively promotes the worship of Baal while the Lord's temple is looted. Jehoiada may be high priest, but his influence is limited. Well, eventually the day comes when Jehoiada is ready to make his move, and it is a dangerous play. If his plot is discovered, he will be executed. There are soldiers loyal to Jehoiada, But there are other troops loyal to Athaliah. If the plot fails, they will be executed. And Jehoiada is about to reveal Joash as the long-hidden but rightful king of Judah. And if the boy is slain in the unveiling, all will be lost. It is a very dangerous play, as is indeed every coup d'etat. Well, 2 Chronicles chapter 23 records what happens. Let me read to you. Jehoiada and his sons brought out the king's son and put the crown on him. They presented him with a copy of the covenant and proclaimed him king. They anointed him and shouted, "Long live the king!" When Athaliah heard the noise of the people running and cheering the king, she went to them at the temple of the Lord. She looked, and there was the king standing by the pillar at the entrance. The officers and trumpeters were beside the king, and all the people of the land were rejoicing and blowing trumpets with their instruments leading the praises. Then Athaliah tore her robes and shouted, "Treason! Treason!" Jehoiada the priest sent out the commanders of the troops and said to them, "Bring her out between the ranks and put to the sword anyone who follows her." Athaliah is perhaps overconfident in storming into the temple. She has left the protection of the palace and her bodyguards, and she is vulnerable. And within an hour, she is dead. It is not a pleasant Bible story. It is messy, but then life is often messy. But it is fascinating to perceive the invisible hand of God weaving back together the various threads that seemed to have come apart. David's line seemed to have failed. The worship of the Lord God in Jerusalem seemed to have been replaced. And yet, it was through the faith and courage of one old man that everything was transformed and restored. Indeed, many Christians can testify to the same experience. Life may at times seem chaotic, but looking back, it is God who has made his plans come to fruition. Why not take a moment to reflect upon the hand of God on your life? And so we are left with a 7-year-old boy crowned king. And we will look in part 2 at what transpires next with Joash. God bless you.